Welcome, everybody, to the next episode, the latest episode of the House Husband Diaries. I am your host, as always, Carter C., and I am wearing this shirt that says Poppy. For those of you who know, you know. For those of you that don't, this is this was my high school Spanish teacher and track coach, Poppy Sudek. And he was born in Austria. I think that's right. And he would always say, "Babies, believe you me." He called us babies. We called him Poppy. So, yeah, there you go. And I got my Bass Pro Shop app just because, you got to keep it going. Got to keep it real. So, today's episode, I'm sticking with the series, That Time I Was. And this time, we have now, I'm in my early 30s, and I move 1,000 miles, over 1,000 miles to Texas to try to woo my ex-girlfriend back. And I got a job working at Dick's Sporting Goods selling running shoes. And then I got a night shift job working at the seasonal warehouse at the large grocery store chain H-E-B down there and in southern Texas. So I had two jobs. So I moved 1,000 miles plus, not on a whim. I'd worked almost a year for a landscape maintenance company in North Carolina, saved up enough money, drove, show up, say, "Hey, Dick's, can I get a job?" And they're like, "Okay, why should we hire you? Something's wrong with you. You're in your 30s. You've worked for Morgan Stanley. You worked in youth ministry. You worked in construction. You started your own nonprofit. You did that for a while. And you worked in landscape maintenance, and now you're here. We're not really sure." And I was like, "My resume looks terrible. I get it. It looks, there's some good stuff on my resume, but it just doesn't, it bounces around, and people are just, it is not a professionally clean, normal resume. I get it. I'm here. I just need a job. Can I get a job? That's all." So I had to call back like twice because they were just going to ignore me. And then they were like, "Okay, like we'll give you a flyer." I had to convince the manager of the store. The assistant managers were just not going to. They were like, "This guy's crap, and we're not going to hire him." And I had to get with the manager, have a heart to heart, and he was like, "Okay, we can't pay you $20, $30 an hour or whatever." And I was like, "I'm not looking for that. Like $10 an hour. Like, I'll sell running shoes. I promise you, I'll be here on time every day, whenever I can. Give me as many hours as you can." And they were like, "Well, here's, we're going to give you a trial basis, whatever." Well, if you move somewhere with a limited amount of money in your bank account and you have tens of thousands of dollars of debt that apparently, at some point you're going to want to pay off, $10 an hour for 25 hours a week ain't cutting it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not possible to pay rent, pay whatever, food, what have you, take the ladies out on dates. So I had to get a second job. Well, I knew people were going to look at my resume and say the same thing that Dick's Sporting Goods did, because people aren't just going to hire you when you're in your 30s and you bounced around from job to job. Nobody knows you, yada yada yada. So I said, what jobs can I get? Is there anything that pays well, that pays a decent amount, that I can just go? I can just be, not be bothered. I can just be a nobody and just put my head down and work and earn money, because that's all I'm trying to do right now. And I saw an ad or whatever on one of the job sites, or on multiple job sites, for this night shift for warehouse workers, and it paid good money. It was like $14, $15 an hour. And I was like, "Hey, this is better, because for every hour that I work there, I'm making 40, 50% more than I'm making selling running shoes." So, And I'm a night person too. I'm a night owl. I can stay up all night. I can drive all night. I can go 24 hours easy without sleep, almost at will, anytime. Jet lag is like, I just stay up for 2 days. That's, stay up for like 36 hours, you're good. It's not a problem for me. So I was like, well, this works perfectly because I can go work a 4 or 6 hour shift at Dick's. I can go work out. I can go do whatever, and then I can go work at night, and it'll be great. So I went, applied, got the job. So I'm working 2 jobs. And what I will say, so I'm gonna go back to the Dick's job and kind of tie that up in a nice little bow for everybody. If you ever move somewhere and don't know anyone, or if you don't really know people and you live in a big city and you need a job, or you want a job, and you want to meet people, go work at Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever the biggest sporting goods store is in your town, in your city. Go work in their running shoe department, in their shoe department. And, women and men's, walking, running, basketball, football, whatever, in the shoe department. You will meet everyone in that city. And I mean everyone. So I'll tell you one story, then a couple. So I met people there's 3, I think at the time there were 3 Fortune 500 companies that had their headquarters in San Antonio, Texas. I met so many high-level managers selling them running shoes, and I'm sure there were a number that came in that I never waited on, that I never served. But I met so many people, and I would just start talking to them. Hey, what are you looking for? Okay, maybe you should use this kind of shoe instead of that shoe or whatever, and everybody, yada yada yada, whatever. And they'd be like, so what's your story? Like, why are you here? And I'd tell them, my story. I moved, and I'm doing this, and I got so many cards from people, and it took five or 6 months before I started kind of building that repertoire and of how to talk and everything with everybody and getting real comfortable. Well, I don't think repertoire is the right word, but anyway. So I will say that I got so many business cards. I started building a network of connections where people were saying, hey, like, you're way too qualified for this. I can't believe you're doing this. Like, you're great. You'd be great working, somewhere else. I can get you an interview here. Here's my card. Call me. I was building this network. I was so excited about the prospects of what, the future, the next 6 months held for me at that time, just based off of just, who I was meeting. And so I wanted to really start from scratch. I was like, okay, I'm going to restart at 31 or 32, whatever I was at the time. And this, I had no idea that selling running shoes at Dick's Sporting Goods would put me in a position to meet these people and to get these business cards and to, network and connect. You have to pay hundreds of dollars to go to these networking, socials and stuff and meet people. And then you just meet other young professionals and people. You don't even meet the high up people. And I was just getting the high up people's business cards because I was selling them running shoes, or I was selling their kid running shoes and football cleats or basketball shoes, and I could just talk to them because it was phenomenal. So house husband tip of the day: if you're going somewhere, or if you just are sitting somewhere and you're in a rut, you need a job, and you want to try to network outside the box, go get a job at Dick's Sporting Goods or any of the large sporting goods stores. Sell running shoes. Everybody needs running shoes or walking shoes, or their kids need shoes. And you give it 6 months to a year, but you will build a network of people if you treat them well. You have to do your part in that. But that was a very pleasant surprise to that job. So then the other cool thing is I met this guy, Matt Bonner. So his nickname, he has 2 nicknames, the Red Rocket and the Red Mamba. But we're about the same age, and I played some AAU basketball in North Carolina. and I knew some of the basketball players and stuff. And so this guy is from the Northeast, but he's like, he went to Florida as like 6'10", and he shoots threes. He was like the first stretch four guy in the NBA, and made a living out of just, it was awesome. So he's a cool guy. I've never met him. His dad was super cool, but I was selling running shoes, and this tall guy comes in, and we start talking, whatever, big feet and basketball. And he was like, "Oh, my son's, whatever." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so and so, But that guy's dad, Matt Bonner's dad, was the coolest guy, and he knew his son was in the NBA. There's only like 400 NBA players or something, in the world, and his son was one of them, and made just tens of millions of dollars over his career. But Matt Bonner's dad, so shout out to the Red Rocket, and your dad is awesome. He treated me so kindly, and we had a great conversation. I never ended up meeting Matt, but just being able to meet people and have conversations that you would never meet otherwise, and you never know their story. Selling running shoes was phenomenal. So I'll get off my high horse on selling running shoes, but that was a great experience. And then when you move on to my night job, it was also a great experience because I could go to this warehouse, and we start around 5 o'clock, be there around 4:30 or so, and then we just work however much work we had. We would just work, and we would go around. I was an order selector, is what they called us, or started out as an order selector. And you learn how to drive this warehouse equipment, and you just drive around, and you have pallets and pallet jacks, and you drive around. The other machine was a Barrett, and you just drive around, and you have a pallet, you have a wrist computer, and it has an order for a store, and you just fill that order for whatever that store is, and you drive all the way around this warehouse. It was 2 warehouses connected, and you pick and you build a pallet of stuff, and the heavy stuff down here, and the lighter stuff, and then you wrap it up and you drop it off, and then the truck loaders, load all the pallets to the different stores, and they have how it needs to be loaded. I have so much respect now for just the logistics, the people that get stuff places, the back end of grocery stores, and I mean it fits for Walmart and anything else where they're shipping goods. I mean, instead of going to college, I should have just worked in warehouses and sold running shoes and whatever, first, and then I could have gone to college later. Like, just those life experiences were so important to me during that time, where I was kind of resetting what I was doing with my life and just saying, this is not based off of where I went to college. This isn't based off of any, intellectual. This is me showing up for work, just doing the bare minimum, showing up for work, working hard, just putting forth effort, and then you get rewarded. And it was such a good experience for me. And it ended up being only about 7 months, because I'll tell you why in the next episode. But that's 7 months that I spent working 2 jobs, and I'll tell you, working 2 jobs for 7 months, I rarely had a day off, right? But when I did, I would go race. So I started running races, and I got pretty good, and I would place either first in my age group, top couple overall. But it was great for me to get back in shape. But it was a phenomenal experience to learn how my eggs or my milk, or my half and half or my coffee gets to the shelves in the grocery store, because I went and picked up cases of that and made pallets and then loaded them onto trucks and worked my way up, from order selector to truck loader. And then I was, in discussions for management, and then got taken away for reasons that I'll tell you in the next episode. But this is my time where I worked selling running shoes at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I worked at the seasonal warehouse night shift at HEB in Texas. Thanks so much for watching this episode of the House Husband Diaries. Can't wait to talk to you tomorrow, the next episode. Like, subscribe. Let me know if there's anything, if you have any questions about anything I've ever said, if you connect. If you've ever worked in any of the jobs that I've worked, the same. If you had similar experiences, if you have completely different experiences, I always love to chat and get to know people's stories. So that's why I'm sharing my story now. And I know it takes a really long time, and I have a lot of words to say. But thanks so much for sticking in there with me, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.